Hi guys, it's Peppy Styling here. How you all doing? You're welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be making this beautiful dress. If this is what you're interested in, kindly keep on watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing to do is to put your fabric on fold. Okay, we are cutting the upper part first. So here I'm measuring my shoulder to my bust point, shoulder to my under bust, and shoulder to waistline, and I'm adding extra 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so I'll be doing this on my fabric because I don't have a pattern paper at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to draw these lines across. Okay, so over here I'm measuring my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16 divided into 2 is 8, and I'm adding half an inch for joining. Then I came down by 1 inch, okay, for the shoulder slope. And on this point I'm going to measure my armhole depth. You can get that by dividing your bust by 6 and adding 1.5. okay, so I'm just going to connect it just like so. Okay, so for the neck width I'm using 3 inches wide. Okay, for the wideness 3 inches, and then for the depth I'm using 3.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect. Next is to draw out the shoulder slope. Okay, so on this armhole depth you're going to divide these 2 points by 2, and then you're going to come inwards by either half an inch or 0.75. okay, so I'm just going to connect them just like you see me doing to form the armhole curve. Next is to determine the depth of our yoke. So from the shoulder line I want to measure how deep I want this yoke to be. Okay, you can maintain your chest line or you can go lower. It totally depends on you, on how deep you want it to be. So I'm just going to stop at 8 inches. Okay, remember I'm cutting direct on the fabric, so this 8 inches when I've sewn it is going to be 8.5. okay, so coming over to the under bust, okay, I'm going to measure my nipple to nipple. That's the bust span. Okay, so the bust span I'm working with is 8 divided into 2 is 4, so I'm making it 4.5. Reason because I am cutting on the fabric. Okay, because you're still going to take half an inch on both sides for joining. Okay, so on this part of the side front I'm going to go inwards from that bust span by 1 inch, and the other side as the center I'm taking half an inch. Okay, I took 1 inch on this center side front and half an inch on the center front. So on the nipple point I'm coming down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect them just like so. Okay, normally I usually go deeper than this for the cup, but because I don't want this dress is not going to be having any cup or wording attached to it, so I don't want it to be too deep. Okay, so now I'm going to take this line upwards. That's this bust span line, I'm taking it upwards. Okay, because we need to do the over bust tightening. So from the side front I'm going to be taking 0.75. okay, and on this other side I'm going to take 0.5, and then I'm going to connect it to the bust point just like so. Okay, this part that I'm marking out is the dart. Okay, so next is to measure our body measurement. So here I'm marking my bust divided by 4, and then I replace the dart intake and 1.5 for seam allowance. The same thing on the under bust, round under bust divided by 4, and I'm replacing the dart intake and then the seam allowance for joining. I also did the same for the waistline as well. Okay, so here I've gone ahead to cut it out. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside now. Okay, so moving over to the back. Okay, I'm measuring my shoulder to the chest line, then shoulder to the waistline. Okay, we won't be needing the under bust or the bust point for this back. And then I'm going to add my seam allowance for joining on the waistline. So here I'm just marking out the lines. Okay, so next is to add our zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm marking 1.5 for zipper allowance. Okay, and then I'm going to connect it with a straight line. Okay, so now we're going to impute our shoulder measurement, shoulder divided by 2. Okay, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Okay, so please take note that our measurement is starting from that zipper line. Okay, so here I'm measuring the neck width, that's 3 inches, and for the neck depth I'm using 1.5, and then I'm just going to connect it just like so, and then mark the shoulder slope. Okay, so next is to mark my nipple to nipple measurement, that's the bust span measurement. Okay, so if you notice I didn't add half an inch to this 4, the reason is because you're not cutting it out. Okay, so on this chest line I came down by 1 and then ½ inch on both sides of this line, and then I'm going to connect it just like so to form our dart. Okay, so now I'm going to impute the body measurement. So here I'm marking the bust circumference divided by 4, and then I added seam allowance. Sorry, I forgot to mark my armhole curve. Okay, so that's just what I'm doing here. And then next is to impute the waist measurement divided by 4, and then we're going to replace the start intake and then add our seam allowance, and that is basically it for the back. Okay, so coming over to this waist, okay, to give the back a very nice fitting, we're going to come inwards on this zipper allowance by ½ inch. Okay, so this ½ inch that we're taking out here, when attaching your zipper, remember to also go inwards by ½ inch, because it's not just affecting only the zipper, the waist too. Okay, this helps the back to really sit well. Okay, so now I'm going to just cut this out. Okay, so this is our back pattern. Okay, so moving over to the down part. Okay, I already folded my fabric into 2. Okay, this is the back and this is the front. Okay, so this, I have about 3 inches there for zipper allowance because I'll be using the butt allocation method. Okay, so here we're gonna head to mark out this line so we'll be able to see where the center front starts from. Okay, this fabric you can hardly differentiate which one is which. So okay, so here I'm subtracting my half length. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the half length. The half length is 18.5, so as you can see I'm placing my tape at 18 inches. Okay, so I'm marking waist to hip line and the full length of this dress. Okay, and then I'm going to add extra 2.5 inch for the hemming allowance. Okay, so that's basically what I'm doing here. Then I'm going to connect with a straight line. So I'm extending the lines all the way to the back. On the waistline, you're going to mark your waist circumference divided by 4. Okay, and then I'm adding 1.5 for seam allowance. Okay, you can decide if you want to add darts to yours, but I won't be adding any darts to this one. On the hip line, okay, I'm using the hip allocation method. So I'm going to mark my half of your hip circumference, minus 1 divided by 2. So that's what I'm marking here, and then I'm adding 1.5 for seam allowance as well. So whatever I got here, I'm going to subtract 1 inch from it, and then I'm going to mark the same thing on the hemline. I want to make a slight correction while I was sewing, I noticed that this dress doesn't really need a slit. So what you have to do is whatever you got on your hip, just mark the same thing all the way to the hemline. Okay, so when we start sewing, you're going to know why I made this correction. Okay, so for the butt allocation, okay, so on this mark here, which is our main measurement, I'm going to measure my half of the hip circumference plus the 1 inch we took out from the front. We're going to add it to the back, and then we'll divide by 2. So that's basically what I marked here. Okay, and then I'm going to come down by 8 inches, and I'll connect it just like so, and then connect the waist to this other point as well. Next is to add the zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm adding 1.5 for the zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to mark it all the way to the hemline. Okay, so this is it for this part of the dress. So I'm just notching the zipper allowance. So I'm just going to take out the front. Okay, so coming over to the waistline of the front, I'm going to come down by 0.75. You can do it 1, you can do 0.75. I'm just going to cut it in this slanted form. Okay, so this helps the waist to relax properly. Okay, so for the sleeve of this dress, it's just a puff short sleeve. Okay, so I'm folding this fabric into 2 like so, and then I'm going to fold it again. I want to cut the 2 sleeves at the same time. Okay, and the length measures 18 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to mark it here, and then I'm going to draw out the armhole. So it's just going to be oversized. Okay, so that by the time we gather it up, it's going to form that puffiness it's going to form that puffiness on the sleeve. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out. Okay, so this is it. I'm just notching the midpoint of the sleeve. Okay, so when you gather here and here, it's going to give that puffiness. Okay, so guys, I'm going to be posting the part 2, that's the sewing part of this tutorial, in my next video. I don't want this video to be too lengthy. Okay, so turn on your notifications so you get notified when I do so. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.